watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. We've been seeing really disturbing scenes coming from Burma, and it's a question that many of us have been forced to ask ourselves. Should India intervene more strongly in a country like Myanmar where there's military junta? Should India be taking a stronger role in its own backyard? If it is a regional power, are there certain responsibilities that we have in our own backyard? And that's going to be the subject on The Big Fight today, and I'd like to welcome all of our guests on the show. I'm going to start from my left with Shekhar Gupta, who's editor-in-chief, of course, of the Indian Express. James Astle, it's great to have you with us. He's the South Asian Bureau Chief of The Economist. So Shashank, it's great that you could join us. Former Foreign Secretary, you've been very influential in shaping Indian foreign policy over the last few years, so it's great to get your perspective on the matter. Commodore Uday Bhaskar, defense analyst, been writing very extensively on all of these subjects. And we're being welcomed by a couple of very special guests. We're being joined by Zoya Khan, who's joining us from London. She's involved with the Burma campaign in the UK. And Zoya's been taking a very strong stance, saying that India's attitude to Myanmar right now is somewhat disgraceful and India needs to do a lot more. All of that's coming up in a minute or two, but let's just quickly run you through the major news headlines. All right, I'm going to start with you, Zoya. You've been saying rather strongly in the last week or 2 weeks that a country like India, which is a democracy and a big democracy, its role in Myanmar right now is somewhat disgraceful. Would you like to amplify your comments?
Sure. Well, the situation in Burma at the moment is very critical, and peaceful protesters were cracked down by the military regime violently, and many of them, we believed, over 200 people have been killed, and more than 1,000 were arrested. And the situation is getting worse and worse, but Indian government, their military support in economically, politically hasn't ceased. We would like to call for Indian government to stop their military assistance economically and politically to the regime. And if India care about democracy and human rights in Burma, Indian government should stand up for the people of Burma and should stop helping the military regime.
All right. Shashank?
Well, she has a point that governments cannot hide behind the cover of their sovereignty or the state supremacy. If you talk about India or any other country intervening in the neighboring countries, then immediately the image, let's say, of the big bad bully, that's like normally one thinks of the United States interfering or going into Iraq or Afghanistan, those images immediately come up. So India has never believed in these kind of ideas, so I do not know what Zoya has in mind that India needs to do. India would definitely like to be more active, but would it be on its own, or would it be as a policeman or some kind of interlocutor on behalf of the United States or the Western countries?
We ask Indian government to denounce the violence crackdown by the military regime to peaceful protesters, and we would like to call for Indian government to stop their military assistance to the regime. And as India is one of the largest democracy country, we would like the Indian government to stand for democracy in Burma as well. At the moment, we feel that India has abandoned democracy in Burma.
Right. Shekhar, the Indian government has come out and said Aung San Suu Kyi must be released. We do stand for human rights, but I think this is a case, and I think this is relevant for the whole of South Asia, but I'd like to stay with this for a couple of minutes. It's a case where I think all of us have to examine our own conscience and say, national interest, yes, the military junta has been helping India a lot. Yes, there's that oil and gas there, which is very important. Yes, we need their help to counter insurgents, which are all arguments that the government has made. But is this a time when we have to examine our own conscience?
No, I say this in